Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It's fantastic as ever to have you here because we're working on what is turning out to be such an exciting project. We're here for a BOWIE knife with an integral guard and bolster. This here is one mean knife, and I am looking forward to bringing you along for another day here in the workshop of crafting this knife. We finished up yesterday's episode working on this transition here in that direction. We now need to work on it in this direction there. You see those temper colors that have come up? There are also some scratches. So we're gonna put our 2x4 in the vise. I'm gonna rest the blade on some leather and I'll clamp it down with a vise grip. Here is the sandpaper I really like using lately. It is a 3M pressure sensitive adhesive. They call it Stick It Gold. Downside is it's super expensive and I just ran out of the 120, but I'm hoping that won't worry and we'll just get away fine starting with the 220 grit. On to the next side. Okay, so we've just done 400 with a hard backing, a steel backing. I'm now gonna do 400 with a leather backing. It's got a little extra give. Wipe it down, use that good old Mountain Dew. And I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing strokes in just one direction and I don't get any little J-hooks. J-hooks are where you stop and start with the sandpaper and it never looks good. It takes care, lots of care to make sure that you don't do it and you get one consistent sanding stroke the whole way down. So what I'm doing is I'm sanding down the radius and pulling the whole way through, making sure the scratches go in one direction and one direction only. We'll also do the same on the bevel, starting at the ricasso, or no, the plunge line rather, in and down. Same again here. We'll flip it over and we'll do the same thing on the other side. There we go. It'll probably need touching up at a later date. Again, you'll remember on yesterday's episode I talked about the inevitability of dropping it and scratching it. Just gonna clear up these little diagonal fillets. That's 220 grit. That was 320. This is 400. Device we come, we've got it cleaned up. Oh yes, he is looking stunning. Okay, I think we can move on. I'm gonna put some WD-40 on, give this a little bit of a fold. And one little trick that I've found with the electrical tape, I'm still not sure what makes the best covering. This is paper, which I'm trying for the first time, but I always have a nightmare getting the electrical tape off afterwards. What I've started doing is I've folded myself a little tab like this, and now when I want to get the electrical tape off, I know exactly where it ended. So that means that we are now ready for the next step. And yes, that is the handle. Well, first and foremost, the tang itself, but in preparation for the handle. I want to see if this file guide will be of any use to me. I'm concerned that it might be a little on the narrow side between these bolts. Oh no! It is so phenomenally close. Ah, no, maybe it does fit. I think that we can make it work like this. A little can't twist clamp on there. That allows us to get far down enough with the file guide, but I'll take it off because there was something that I hadn't verified. I haven't verified that indeed we are central from the blade to our guard material. So I'm going to mark all of these measurements. Now it's difficult because we have a radius, so it's not a perfect way of doing it, but it'll get us close enough. Okay, call that side A, this side B. So here on side A, depicted to the right, so we're imagining that this is how we're looking at it. We can see that this right-hand side here of our bolster material, guard material, is large. And in fact, both sides are angled down and are narrower towards the blade edge side of the blade. So what I've done is I've drawn myself an exaggerated depiction of what it is, which shows me that on this top hand side of B, I need to go in 0.4 millimeters. On this right hand side of A, I need to go in 1.14 millimeters, and on the bottom 0.8 millimeters for us to hopefully end up with an even 5.6 millimeter gap the whole way around. We'll take some of this here blue dye. I'm gonna make a little scribe. Can do the same at the bottom. I'm gonna come in right here and do it too at the top on this side. Well, this certainly makes me feel nervous. I do not want to mess this up. Right, so we got it marked out. Let's grind it down. Okay, I got one side down. I'm about 5 thou above the line since this is a 60 grit. Since we don't have a lot of material to remove on the opposite side, I'm gonna take off the 60, put on a 120. There we go. Back to the other side. What have I done? I put a taper on it. Not good. I'm making it worse. No! The more I touch it, the worse I make it. Just gotta take a little more up here. This needs to come down a little. Very difficult. I'm trying to line this all up and make sure that we're gonna be square to the front of the guard. Oh, nope. Okay, I can work with that. Tighten it all up. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm about to need to grind this section and I put the clamp on that way. Take this off, put this one on. To the grinding room. So now we've got it locked in the vise, and I'm going to be using the file guide now, not to guide the grinding, but to guide what it's intended for, which is the filing. It gets chewed up on the grinder there, and carbide faces would save that. It's only hardened 01 that's been lightly tempered. Against files though, it's rather resilient, which means that we can bring this surface, the surface where the flat of the wood meets our steel, down to a perfectly flat little bit so that we can get the cleanest fit up possible. We got the bulk of this file down. I'm going to take this old parallel here and I'm going to lay it on my file guide and I'm going to push it in and I'm going to make sure that there are no obstructions. It gets a little sticky about halfway in there, so that could still use some more work. Good there, pretty good there. So we're going to take a few strokes here with a second cut file. I learned a lot about filing bolsters on the hand tool knife project, and it's been very nice applying that to this. Now I am concerned that now, once we remove our file guide, we're gonna have a few gouges that have gone below it. What's really interesting, a conventional file doesn't cut that hardened 01. And hardened 01, I mean, it's gotta be pretty hard. Hardened 01, with the very cold temper that I did on it, it's probably over 60 Rockwell. But what's amazing is, those small round files I use are these still chainsaw files, which obviously means they're meant to cut chainsaw chain to sharpen the chainsaw chain, which is probably hardened. And let me tell you, they cut the daylights out of this file guide. And what they'll also do, if you harden something and you want to test it for hardness, and you use one of those chainsaw files, you'll scrape it along the thing and it'll dig right in, even if the thing that you hardened is like way above 60 Rockwell. They're hard, and they will cut the daylights out of hardened steel. We got a big problem. 15.58, 15.14. So that means that we have to take about 1/2 mil off of this side here. In fact, the measurements are so different that you can even see it just with your eye. It's rather plain to see. Okay, so here's the plan. I'm coming into the surface grinder, and we are going to surface grind down our little file guide here. And we're gonna flatten it all off, and then we can use it again to get that bolster area completely square, completely neat and ready for us to move on to the handle block. Okay, so I've messed around with this a good bit more. In this orientation, it's square, but here, I am just still not happy with it. It looks like my bolster area is still tipped forwards. It's ever so slight, but with having this bolster area at the front, like any sort of difference in the width of the bolster material is really, really clear to see, and it's not good enough. This is that same problem that I was having just a little bit earlier. 14.67, 14.72. It's really a small amount. It's only about what? Is this an illusion then? The calipers are reading that it's out 0.1 of a millimeter, but it looks far worse. Apparently my eye has spotted that there is 0.1 millimeters to 0.15 millimeters of difference here. That is really surprising, but it's still out. But again, for the 10th time, we are gonna square this up. At last, there we go, we got it squared up. But here's an interesting thing to have a look at. You see how the top of the tang here is almost in line with the spine of the knife? That's not good. This is something I picked up from, again, watching some Nick Wheeler videos. What I want is I want my spine, the line of the spine, continuing rather straight into the top of the handle. And so if the tang is almost in line with the spine, it means that we're not going to have a lot of distance between the edge of our handle material and the tang, meaning that we don't have a lot of strength in the wood right there.
I got the file guide on to protect it. We're going to grind it down.
So with that sorted, it is now time to think about handle material. Here I've got koa, ipe burl, spalted maple burl, and Tasmanian blackwood. The koa's got a nice width this way, but it's a little narrow. Man, that Tasmanian blackwood. It's a little on the narrow side, but I think that if I cut the face at an angle, we can work with it. So I think we'll make this work. This stuff comes from Ben Greenberg at Greenberg Woods. You can get 10% off with code FORGE. I get a small kickback too. Ben is a great guy to get your wood from. Get all sorts of crazy stuff like this. In other news, I've partnered up with DIY marketplace Mano Mano to be a judge for a competition that they are hosting where you, by submitting your DIY project, could indeed win £5,000 worth of tools from them, as well as the opportunity to be featured in their new upcoming web series. If you've got an awesome DIY project, making project, building project that you think is a real attention grabber, whether it is you're building a house on wheels, doing something as crazy as making an Iron Man suit, taking on a challenge of fine craftsmanship, submit your projects at theamazingmakingof.com. That is the series they're producing. The Amazing Making Of is about celebrating what truly is the amazing making of all the projects that we love getting up to, sharing that with a lot of people. You have 1 month starting from now, the 24th of May until the 24th of June, to get your submissions entered, and I'm then going to be a judge who's going to help pick the winner and help decide who wins those £5,000 worth of tools and be part of Mano Mano's new series. So if you are from Spain, Italy, Germany, France, or right here in the UK, amazingmakingof.com, Mano Mano, thank you very much for sponsoring today's episode and having me as a judge. Thank you guys for being here. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Get your project submitted!